Shalom, shalom. That's the brother Taha Ward. Right, coming at you with a quick cut on is Esau, the Arabs. Right. Let's go to First Maccabees, the 5th chapter. Right, First Maccabees chapter 5. I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, "Now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much." Right, showing what? That is more than one nation that's round about them. Right, it says, "Wherefore they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them, and thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people." Then verse 3, right, is the point. Right, "Then Judas fought against the children of Idumea," so like against the children of Esau at Idumea, so like to the children of Esau in Idumea at Rabatim, because they besieged Gael, and he gave them a great overthrow and abated their courage. Right, so this is going into the times when, you know, the Maccabees first became under attack, right, and they went to war with the Seleucid general, or it's like with the Seleucid commander Timotheus, right, as you can see in verse 11. Right, verse 11, it says, "And they are being prepared to come and take fortress whereunto we are fled, Timotheus being captain of their host." Right, so let's drop down. I'm gonna drop down real fast to verse 25. Right, now this is where it starts to get a lot more descriptive on the nations that were round about. Right, I'm gonna start at verse 24. It says, Judas Maccabeus also and his brother Jonathan went over Jordan and traveled 3 days' journey in the wilderness, and they met with the Nabathites, who came unto them in a peaceable manner and told them everything that happened unto their brethren in the land of Galilee. Now these Nabathites that we reading about in verse number 25, right, are the seed of Ishmael. Right, and how do we know? Let's go to Genesis chapter 25. Right, Genesis chapter 25, right, and I'm gonna start at verse number 12. Right, it says, "Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names, according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Abdil, and Mizbam." Right, but for right now, right, we're gonna focus on this name Nebajoth. Right, so let's go to the blue letter in Genesis, the 25th chapter. So Genesis chapter 25 and verse number 13 in the blue letter. Now let's go search this word Nebajoth. Right, right, this is it right here.
Strong's H 5032. Neviah. And
right, so it says Nebajoth, right, or Nebajoth, which means heights, a son of Ishmael, people descended from one called the Nabateans, with their capital at Petra. Right, so the Nabateans or the Nabathites, right, which we read about in First Maccabees, the 5th chapter and verse 25, right, are the children of Ishmael. Right, let's read on. I'm gonna read it again. It says, "Where they met with the Nabathites, who came unto them in a peaceable manner and told them everything that happened unto their brethren in the land of Galilee, and how that many of them were shut up in Basra and Bazar and Elama and Casper, Maked and Carnaim, and these cities are strong and great, and that they were shut up to in the rest of the cities of the country of Galilee, and against the morrow they had appointed to bring their host against the forts and to take them and to destroy them all in one day. And Judas and his host had turned suddenly by the way of the wilderness unto Basra." Right, and when he had won the city, he slew all the males with the edge of the sword, and took all their spoils and burnt the city with fire. Now I'm gonna drop down to the point. Right, I'm gonna drop down to verse 34. Verse 34, it says, "Then the host of Timotheus," right, which was an Edomite. Timotheus was a Seleucid general. Right, it says, "Then the host of Timotheus knowing that it was Maccabeus, fled from him, wherefore he smote them with a great slaughter, so that they were killed of them that day about 8,000 men. This done, Judas turned aside to Mashpah, and after he had assaulted, he had took and slew all the males therein, and received the spoils and burnt it with fire. From thence went he and took Casphon, Magid, Bazar, and the other cities from around Galilee. Right, so he went to all of the places that the Nabateans had told him that people were still at. Right now, verse number 38. Right, this is the point in 38 and 39. So Judas sent men to espy the host, who brought him word, saying, all of the heathen that be round about us are assembled unto them in a very great host. Because in verse 25, it says that Timotheus took another host to camp against Maccabeus, the Maccabees, right? Verse 39, right? This is talking about Timotheus. He hath also hired Arabians to help them, and they have pitched their tents beyond the brook, ready to come and fight against thee. Right? These same Arabians are the Nabateans, right? Are the same people that we read about in verse number 25, right? So it's a quick cut from 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 3. Then you bring it down to 1 Maccabees, so like in 1 Maccabees 5 and 3. Then you bring it down to 1 Maccabees chapter 5 and verse 25. Right? Line it up with Genesis chapter 25 and verse 16. It's like in verse 13, the son of Ishmael, right? You can look that up in the Strongs. It's up to you, right? But when you bring it down to verse number 39, right, it's the point. It says that Timotheus, right, a Greek, hired the Arabians, right? So that's a quick cut on is Esau is the Arabs. Shalom.